Estamos en Sunset Boulevard, una de las calles más importantes de Los Ángeles, with Kim Krizan. Thanks, Kim.
Hi, hello, how are you?
We now return to Mira Akien and Contré with our latest interview.
So she proposed us to walk like if we were doing before sunrise.
Yes, that's right.
So this would be like before sunset, I think.
Yes, right now it is before sunset.
Okay.
That's right. But we are in Los Angeles instead of Paris and instead of Vienna.
So listen, here's the deal. This is what we should do. You should get off the train with me here in Vienna and come check out the town.
What?
Come on, it'll be fun.
I traveled by Amtrak to Los Angeles, and you told me once that the Amtrak train was like maybe the original idea for the movie.
Yes.
What happened? Why did you change it to Europe?
We had financing from Vienna, from Austria, and so when Ethan Hawke got involved, we thought that it should, in some ways it mirrored my experiences traveling by train in Europe, because I would often meet Europeans.
Yeah.
And that was really fun for me to meet Europeans, because then of course I would ask them all about their lives wherever they were from. In one case, someone from Norway, sometimes people from England, but because Ethan Hawke was an American, we thought that then the female should be a European.
Yeah.
And we knew then that we were switching it to Eurail.
Yeah.
It was no longer going to be Amtrak, it was going to be Eurail.
I want to keep talking to you. I have no idea what your situation is, but I feel like we have some kind of connection, right?
How did you define the lines that these characters were going to say to each other, or what things they were going to discuss?
Well, when we were creating the dialogue of the films, like Rick and I would, first of all, we had a general idea about what the characters, about their chemistry. But then what we did is he would sit down and type at his computer, and then I would sit down, and then he would sit down, and then I would sit down. So it worked like a conversation, like a real conversation.
Okay. So it's like you were chatting together.
Yes, we were chatting. And Rick and I had always been able to talk. He's a fun person to talk to. He's interesting. He's a good listener. And so we had always had great chemistry as far as our conversations went. We laughed a lot, and we were, I think we have a curiosity in common, and maybe that translated to the characters. I hope so.
And I have another question I think people would like, because you told me some story that I think we didn't share before. That is, why did you choose Julie Delpy for the role of the European girl?
Well, a number of people were auditioned for the part. I saw these audition tapes, and there were a lot of really good people. But I was told by somebody that Rick thought that Julie looked like me, I should say. That's how I should word it.
What do you think the European part of this story changed to the original one that you had? Like, you had an original plan in the Amtrak, like traveling through America, and then you changed it to Europe. What changed with that?
I really don't know if anything changed, because the setting was, I guess it would be a matter of setting. We thought that the characters would get off together in San Antonio, Texas, which is not a particularly romantic city if you've ever been there, but it does have a river walk. So I think we were going to try to maybe imagine the romance of this river walk in this very, very hot Texan city. And so the thing about Vienna is it has all these gorgeous and very old buildings and statues, and so that added a lot of romance to it. But we were going to try to find the romance of San Antonio. Maybe Vienna really helped us find the romance, though. I don't know. Maybe that completely changed it.
I like to feel his eyes on me when I look away. You couldn't possibly know why a night like this is so important to my life right now.
I think what happened is that Before Sunrise was much more of a success than maybe he or the studio that financed it were expecting, because it was a very small movie. It had a very low budget, really low budget. And I think that nobody was expecting it to gain any traction the way it did, but it turned out that people loved it. And now that it was, we've now moved on from even that, and people still remember it and love it. So I think it evolved into a sequel and then a trilogy because people were asking about it. People wanted a trilogy, a sequel, and people kept asking and asking and asking. I remember him saying, what about doing a sequel? And I did not see that coming at all. I didn't expect that in the least, So this was not planned. Yeah. I think things are less planned than people really know.
I met a guy on the train and I got off with him in Vienna. I was still there.
Are you crazy?
Probably.
This was a pre-internet, pre-social media, pre-everything.
Yes.
Do you think it's possible to think of a story like that in this era? And how would you write that again or do a remake? Even now we have remakes everywhere. So do you think it's possible to do a remake that works with social media, with telephones, that has the same spirit?
I think it would have a different spirit because now it's so easy for us to stay connected to people all over the world. And back then, for example, when I was traveling by train, I knew I would never see those people again. And I knew the chances that we would ever exchange a postcard or anything were very slim. So often we did not exchange information. So there would be a huge difference as far as spirit goes. But people are hungry to connect with one another, and they're hungry to have real conversations. And so I'm hoping that aspect of the face-to-face conversation, of people meeting, and I'm hoping that people still can trust one another. I know that there's fear now about people, but I'm hoping that they would trust one another enough to spend hours together talking to a relative stranger, and that that can be a very enriching experience. So I think it would be different because of technology offering this new possibility of staying in touch, but I'm hoping that the soul of the thing would be the same.